Have you ever thought about having a really specific superpower? Like if you could just do this one specific, really precise thing, life would be so much easier. Like what if we could move a single piece of straw? Which I know sounds ridiculous, but that is just one of the many amazing, really precise superpowers in Parashoppers, an action school life supernatural shonen manga written and illustrated by Tsubasa Fukichi that began serialization on the 22nd of January in 2025, and it is currently my new favorite manga. And I want to keep talking about the absolute best part of Parashoppers, and that's the powers themselves. See, Parashoppers is a manga about characters buying and selling superpowers in a game called Parashop. The players of this game buy one power and raise its value to sell it and buy a better power. And I think that this element of the story is the greatest part. A lot of power systems draw directly from a character's personality or give them some sort of unchanging innate power, like Bleach or Jujutsu Kaisen, linked to their own growth as a character. But the Parashop powers work somewhat in reverse. With the way Parashop works, characters can directly choose which power they want, and this setup allows the author to give his characters ridiculous abilities, but he can have his characters find creative ways to utilize these powers. Because the powers are so precise and specific, every character gets one tool that they can master and eventually completely understand their weird tool that once seemingly could only be used in a few situations. And because there are so many more ridiculous powers, like throwing zombies with your feet because of the power that lets you throw things with your feet, and controlling a gorilla because of the power that lets you think from another person's viewpoint, and even raising wire fences as a power so you can have a cage match with a priest who loves wrestling and pretends to have multiple personalities so the fight can be more interesting, that is Parashoppers. These powers and some of the scenarios I will mention are the true essence of this manga that make it genuinely, in my opinion, one of the best manga around currently. Now you may be wondering, how do the characters actually raise the value of their superpower? Well, the Parashop app assigns them missions throughout the story, and during these missions, if they manage to use these powers creatively, it raises the value of their superpower, which is a detail I want to come back to later. But even if you don't like the ones I've mentioned, don't worry, because there are many more weirdly specific and niche superpowers, like being able to freeze any clothing you're wearing, or turning batteries into lightning, and even turning your shoes into cars in Parashoppers. But it leads me to my next greatest point and the second greatest aspect of this series, being its main character, Mitsusara Amaragi, who is the wielder of moving a single piece of straw. While his power seems weak, he's found many uses for a single piece of straw, as he found he could manipulate it completely as if it were another limb, like unlocking doors from the other side, using the straw to control his movements, enhancing his reflexes, comparing the straw's force of motion and his reflexes to a bike with an electric motor, and even using the straw as a lightning rod to prevent lightning strikes from reaching him. And currently within the series' 60 chapters, Amaragi has found many other ways to use this power, like reinforcing it with wire to overcome its weakness, since straw is hollow and prone to breaking. And this aspect of the story is further intensified by Amaragi's character traits. At the beginning, Amaragi is described as someone who could see the silver lining in anything, or rather someone who is extremely positive, and he's also very clearly intelligent. This allows him to see what is seemingly negative or useless to someone else and observe what's positive or unique about it, as stated by many of his classmates who literally nicknamed him Brightside. Due to this, Amaragi is able to see the usefulness and potential of even a single piece of straw, and even understand the good traits of another person's power, creating many moments within the story where characters work together to achieve a goal using their powers as one super tool. And many characters are also capable of seeing this trait within him, as in chapter 8, he actually explains the reason for why he's like this. He talks about a candy shop he'd visit when he was younger, and how the owner was treated like a weirdo by everyone around him. He wore unusual clothes, listened to unusual music, and smoked unusual tobacco every day. He speaks about how children loved him, but their parents didn't. Amaragi continues stating that he begged his parents for a pink backpack when starting elementary school, thinking it was simple and stylish, but he was called weird for it, and then the man reaffirmed his confidence by saying he liked the pink. And he explains that this is the reason why whenever he hears that something is weird or wrong, he'd begin to question if that was really true. And he states that when you do that, you might discover that some things really are bad, but you'll also discover some really good things as well. Like the weakness of his straw I mentioned earlier. Its weakness is that it's hollow and very frail, but that weakness to him is only an advantage, making a character that I'll mention later recognize his soft spot for the weak. Also, Amaragi is a really intelligent character, but not like smug intelligent. He isn't like, you fell for one of my 62 plans, smart. He's just an all-around good guy, making for a really entertaining story. Which is why the third best thing is Parashoppers' main cast as well. Every other main character has strange tendencies, which I feel complements not only their powers, but the dynamic between all of them. The first Parashop player we're introduced to is Kiminori Sayonji, a seemingly rough and vulgar guy who, when he first appeared, had the power to increase the elasticity of rubber bands and fire them. Being Amaragi's first opponent and losing to him made him swear that he'd challenge him again and that he'd beat him, creating a really cool rivalry dynamic between the two. But his respect for Amaragi's positive nature is what made him elect Amaragi as the leader of their group. Sayonji is a really cool character, as throughout the series he's seen swapping powers the most and almost seamlessly, which is regarded as a skill itself by Amaragi. Swapping between his rubber band power, the power to open holes in anything, and a power called Snatch Most Beloved Item, which allows him to teleport to his sunglasses wherever he throws them. He shows off a lot of versatility throughout the series and a softer but hilarious side for cats, as his dream is to open a cat jungle gym. The next player is Ryo Onizuka, and her power is arguably the hardest to explain, but it's called Make the Bread Bring Pain. With it, she's able to inflate bread and use it as a weapon, which may not seem effective, but she uses military hardtack, the hardest bread in the world, and with it she will absolutely rock your shit with it. She's a pretty funny character as well. When she's introduced, she's a bread-loving gang boss capable of taking on delinquents much larger than herself easily. Throughout the series, she shows excellent hand-to-hand combat skill and plays the role of combatant and comic relief really well. But Kaoru Saito, a character I mentioned earlier, is ultimately my favorite character and the most ridiculous thus far. He is a young priest who loves wrestling, and his introduction is him suplexing a bear to save a child and then deciding to name that technique after that occasion. In chapter 8, Sayonji is in the hospital, and Saito is the reason for this, as he suplexed Sayonji, and Saito is the current holder of Make Metal Poles sprout from the ground. But that isn't his main strength. It's the fact that he's able to do a cobra twist on a cobra. And he also has one of the most romantic moments in the series, which is also really cool. But the second to last character I want to mention isn't a part of the main team, but I just had to mention him because of what he's doing to people is insane. That character is Ikurumi. He was gifted with a talent to make people feel better with his words alone, erasing their worries, and throughout his life he honed that skill. And so he became one of those bar hosts, like club hosts, and he would sit there and talk to women, erasing their worries, which makes him seem like a pretty cool guy, right? But his goal isn't to make people feel better, but to actually feel the praise and false love he feels from those he makes feel better. When he joined Parashop, the power he chose is induce worries, giving him the power to induce and intensify their existing worries. And what he does is use his powers to make people feel worried and then calm their worries, making them addicted to him, which is crazy, is it not? He's literally doing the nicotine patches post and engagement farming people, which I thought was pretty crazy. But it goes to show that throughout the story of Parashoppers, we meet many other characters who are also playing this game, who have completely different motives and selfless or selfish reasons for playing. We learn many new things about this game at the same time they do. The very last character I want to mention isn't necessarily a part of the main cast, but she is a friend to them and a very threatening figure. With a little context, in the beginning of the story, during the tutorial phase, Parashop gave an announcement that any player whose power was valued under 5,000 points would die, leading Sayonji and Amaragi to decide to take on a player who goes by the alias Yatagarasu Zen, a player who sent 10 other players to the hospital during the tutorial period alone. And the reveal of this character is staggering, as it's revealed that Yatagarasu Zen is a really big old lady from Harajuku. And I would arguably say that Zen is the strangest character in this manga, and she has the power to blow fire from her nose. Amaragi takes her cane from her, suspecting that it's a weakness, but it actually just makes her even faster and more agile. But she is the one capable of seeing this softer side of Amaragi. But if you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. I want to apologize, bro. I had the worst writer's block ever while writing the script. But the next video I will be focusing on is a manga recommendations video. I have a list of like 20 plus different manga that I'm going to be reading. I meant to say manga. But I'll see you guys. And don't forget this.
Fear God, love Jesus.
Peace.
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.